Love's for beginners, ain't no winners. It slips through your fingers, I ain't telling no lies. So F all the drama, F the karma. Just do what you wanna, promise you got time. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being who's mama, yeah, treat yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Come get your future, know you wanna. She'll never betray ya, she ain't telling no lies. So break the glass ceiling, find your meaning, make truth out of dreaming. Yeah, baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no one's mama, yeah, treat yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no one's mama, yeah, treat yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life.
Question: did you get a chance to meet with the royal family? And if not, how was it like having them there in the building?
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph?
The Prince and Princess of Wales.
Oh, no, I did not. I'm only familiar with one royal family. I don't know too much about that one.
Hi everyone. How are we? How are we feeling? I know how I'm feeling. I know that I've got a lot to say. I know that you have a lot to say also. I have put the link in the comment section, which you can click on, and if you'd like to say anything and come on, please feel free to come up, because yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Some interesting things came out in the second half that even I wasn't expecting. Even Megan, sorry, not Megan, Omid's dog was just engrossed. Look at that. Can't take his eyes off of the TV screen. I got up at 8 a.m. this morning, so I was up straight away, watched all 3 episodes on high speed. So I actually got through it in about 2.5 hours. And then went and had a coffee and breakfast. Was a pretty heavy morning, some very heavy things that were said in the second half. And if any of the subjects that are discussed, suicide, miscarriage, abuse, if that's too much for you, then I would just say perhaps don't watch at the moment if you're not in that headspace, because there was a lot of emotional things said and brought to the forefront. But let's say our hellos and get through some other stories, and then we will get to documentary. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and hit that button, please. We're almost at 13,000. And I want to say thank you to everyone, because I don't think I say thank you enough, because this whole year, everything on this podcast, on the other podcasts that you support, Royal Sussex, the Sussex Squad podcast before us, Facts and 2 Cents, Miss Ivy, everyone, it's all been leading up to this, and thank goodness there was a voice out there pushing back against the narrative and creating a more balanced view of the situation, an alternative view where people could go and get information. Because one of the things that this second half of the documentary did was really home in on just how loud, how the UK tabloid press created this blanket, literally this blanket that it threw over the news cycle, and the level of vitriol spewed towards Harry and Meghan, but particularly Meghan. As Harry himself says in the documentary, misogyny at its finest. Oh, okay, let's get through some of your comments. Church Nelly, I can't believe they were gracious to Tampon. Yes. This documentary series was incredibly gracious to Charles. For those of you that haven't watched it, I'm telling you now, it was very, some might argue, too gracious to Charles. But at the end of the day, this was Harry and Meghan's platform, and they chose to use their platform in a way that was gracious towards Charles. And for those of you that haven't watched it yet, I will go into detail about what I'm talking about. Yeah, Church Nelly, I was as shocked as you were about that. Not that I was expecting them to totally trash Charles, but I was not expecting them to be as gracious as they were. That shocked me. Hi, Chaser to be his. Hi, Ania. Hi, Mad World. Welcome, welcome. I can tell that Harry read Sun Tzu about 100 times, because truly just masterful strategy that we're seeing here. There's enough, but not too much, and about the right people in the right way. It was truly masterful. Yes, Anita, I love Omid's dog too. Omid's dog is my favorite part of all of this. Yes, Luna, the royal family is trash. In conclusion, at the end of all of this, the royal family is trash, but love one. Levy, I ugly cried today. Yes, a lot of people in tears. Because so many of the narratives that were created about Meghan are narratives that we as women of color, particularly Black women, know. So many of the dynamics between the family members are dynamics that we as women of color and Black women especially know. So many of the workplace dynamics are dynamics that we as women, as people of color, but especially as Black women know. And I think this is what those courtiers, those vipers in grey suits, and what the other royals don't even understand is that they don't just need to eventually apologize to Meghan. They need to apologize to everyone who has had to relive a lot of what they have been through watching this. Because the royal family want the eyes of the world on them, yes. Well, you've had the eyes of the world on you. And while we've been watching you, we've seen that the only person of color in your institution, in your family, has been bullied by the press, and you did nothing to stop it. And now you know that within the institution were part of that campaign. So it's not just Meghan that deserves an apology here, and quite frankly, an apology wouldn't cut it. Right, before I get to the documentary and analysing it, I'm going to get into some other things first. All right, so let's get the other things out of the way first. We'll actually start with some positive news. There is some positive news. So, sorry, let me just open the article itself. Okay, so Harry has joined Senator Chris Coons and former Ethiopian Prime Minister for an essay about how public and private sectors can find common ground to better care for our planet, starting by learning from African communities. So this is literally just in the last couple of hours this has come out. So still in the middle of all of the drama, still doing great things. And actually in the documentary, one of the things that Meghan and Harry said was they, as far as they're concerned, if they're going to have all of this spotlight and circus surrounding them, watching their every move, well, then they're going to use it for good things. They're not going to enjoy the luxuries of being royals, and they're not just going to show up and give a smile and a wave here and there.
I'm sorry we can only come and give words and comfort, but we are thinking about you the whole time, and we really care about what's going on. So
sometimes that's more than financial.
Yeah. Well, if we can give you the odd smile here and there, that's important. So
So the essay starts off by saying, while the three of us were born in different countries with different backgrounds, we've come together to urge the public and private sectors to find common ground to better care for our planet and its people, starting by learning from and supporting Africa's communities. So I will post that in the chat if you want to go read it, and I've also posted it on the community tab. And it's great to see Harry involving voices from the continent in this discussion, because often with conservation, there is a white savior complex that's often attached to this, where it's everybody else is speaking for Africa, its land, its ecosystems, its wildlife, and the people on the ground don't often get a say in how a lot of these conservation projects run. And there are many entities who use conservation as a cover for a power grab and a land grab. So it's very important when we have these conversations that people from the continent are also part of the conversations. So there was that nice bit of news that came out today. In not so good news, the charity at the heart of the Buckingham Palace row could now face a probe into finances. A Greater London authority is re-examining thousands of pounds in grants given to Sister Space. And this, of course, is the charity that is run by Ngozi, that was the heart of the race row with Lady Susan Hussey. Not surprising that someone has taken this step to report the charity and ask for an investigation. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, I pray for the women who were benefiting from these very important services, these life-saving services, but there was never anything to be gained from Sister Space and Ngozi Fulani aligning themselves with the palace. And now she could potentially lose everything. You are not invited there, my dear, because they were concerned about violence against women, because they were concerned, because they wanted to contribute to your charity. They don't give money like that, and they don't inspire anyone else to donate money in the way that, say, Harry and Meghan do. You were there to be used as a prop, and now your entire charity is being investigated. Mind you, if they're gonna investigate Sister Space, all right, well then investigate everyone, because charities in general are often used as a front for some money laundering, and it's going to be incredibly damning if they do actually find anything dodgy going on with this charity. I hope they don't. I hope that they have used their funds well, and that the people who use this organization have been getting the help. But ultimately, she's been just thrown into the fire here. And I hope this prompts other organizations and those that run them to just stay away from the royal institution, because you don't gain anything by aligning yourself. And there have been reports and research on this, that having a royal as a patron does not help your charity. And in the case of Ngozi Fulani, she could be losing everything, along with everybody that benefits from these services. Right. Also, Anne Widdecombe. A moment of silence, just so we can all look at the picture. She came out and said that Meghan is peddling conspiracy theories before the documentary aired. I'm not surprised at all that this individual came out and said this, because she also said some pretty disparaging things around the time of the Me Too movement. I honestly believe that whenever you get whistleblowers or situations like Me Too, I do think that there are people that the media and those who are being called out pay off to come out and say things like this, because it's almost always women like Anne. I hate that we share a name, but it's almost always women like her. I remember also there was an older French actress who came out and was very disparaging about Me Too and the women who came forward during the Me Too time. She then got so much backlash that she had to backtrack on what she said. But by then the damage is done. I hope they pay people like this well, because karma will come to get you when that money runs out. But these are the type of people who all this time for years have gone after Meghan. Although I do want to say, and I think this is very important, Christopher Boozy also makes this point in the documentary. He says that a lot of the vitriol was coming from older Caucasian middle-aged women, and that is only true to a certain extent. Black women and Black people were also weaponized against Meghan. Black women and Black people also attacked Meghan, because there is a lot of inter-community issues, especially when it comes to colorism and biracial people. So I think it's important to point out that the attacks were coming from a diverse group of people, and equally the support that Meghan gets and has received throughout all of this is also from a very diverse group of people. So I just wanted to say that. But okay, let me take your comments first, and then I'll go to my analysis of the documentary and I'll go through my notes, and then I will let the callers come up. All right. And there's the link if anybody wants to go in. Right. We'll have to scroll up. Oh, there was someone who's been a member. Who is this? I think I have to scroll up a bit. Oh, Elaine Parker. A member for 8 months. Thank you so much, Elaine Parker. Thank you so much to all of the members. I think there's 101 members now. Thank you to all of you. Yes, give love. The squaddies stood in the gap for Harry and Meghan until they were able to speak for themselves. Yes. Because there was no one else. Who else was pushing back against the tabloids in the way that we did collectively? And one of the things that I've always loved about the squad is that there's no like central brain hub. We are all individuals with our own opinions and backgrounds, but we could all see what was going on. And we are simultaneously autonomous as individuals, but also united in what we feel was doing the right thing in standing up for not just Meghan, but what Meghan stands for. And one of the things that was said in the documentary by Sophia Noble, who wrote Algorithms of Oppression, was that the attack on Meghan was, she used a very particular phrase, which actually put a word on what I've been feeling for a while. But let me just find the phrase, sorry. I'll just have to go through my notes again. What was it that Sophia said? She said that it was, I think was it those of you who watched it, was it social alienation or social? It was social something. So basically, I think it was symbolic something. So when you have somebody who is a symbol, so in Meghan's case, she is a symbol of modernity in this old-fashioned institution. She is a symbol of women's voices, of feminism, of women of color, of social justice, of racial justice. So when you have this symbol that becomes such a big figure, in order to scare other people from speaking up, you attack that individual. And I do think that a lot of the attacks on Meghan, it wasn't just about Meghan, it was about what Meghan represents. And so the right-wing tabloid press, the online trolls, in order to everybody else, saw an opportunity to try and silence and destroy Meghan. And this is why I've always said, Tina and Michelle have always said, this is so much bigger than Harry and Meghan. If I was a Harry and Meghan, just a Harry and Meghan fangirl, then this podcast wouldn't exist. I would just be posting pretty pictures of Harry and Meghan on Instagram, because that's how I started Duchess of Success, back when it was Markle Sparkle. It was just an Instagram page. And if I was here just still a Harry and Meghan fangirl, it would still just be an Instagram page. But I saw that there was something more to all of this, and I wanted to offer a voice and a space for us to discuss this and add to that space where others had started to create other platforms as well. So proud of all of the squad for, yes, speaking out and creating these platforms and spaces before Harry and Meghan, while Harry and Meghan can actually speak for themselves. Right. Let's get through these comments before I start taking calls. MJB, you said, I watched the episode, very telling. We all knew of the abuse. I cried at times because they were vulnerable, sad. I always respect this family for their bravery. Yes. And it just shows, doesn't it? It doesn't matter how wealthy you are, how privileged you are, how privileged of an institution that you were born into, married into. If they want to destroy you, they're just going to destroy you, period. And sometimes you have to take the highest road to protect your children. They're going to move away from that. Yeah. Harry made it very clear at the end, America is their home now. And it is Archie and Lily's home. They're not coming back. So all of this nonsense about there's no way back for Harry and Meghan, it's all projecting. And I think the firm really do just feel rejected and dejected. They just cannot believe that these two, not only have they survived, they have thrived. Absolutely thrived. But they always would. If anybody actually knows Meghan's background fully and what she had with the TIG, what she had with the humanitarian, haven't I said that on this podcast before? At the very least, Harry and Meghan would be what? Instagram influencers, YouTube influencers? Well, they make millions as well. There's no shame in that. But the idea that they were going to be living in a trailer and flipping burgers. Be serious. Tiana Lewis, I don't understand how you can hate someone you don't know, but hate someone is crazy. Yes. A lot of people who I don't particularly like, you know what I do? I don't pay attention to them. I'm not paying attention to either Elon Musk or Kanye West or Kim Kardashian right now. I don't preoccupy myself with people I don't like. I mind my business with the people that I do. Jean, you know, and they will never apologize. Camilla Tominey was at it again on Talk TV this morning. Oh, yeah. They showed her headline, the whole Grenfell terrorist thing. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Oh, thank you so much, Elaine Parker, for the super sticker also. Much appreciated. Those interviews. What will be William's comeback? Is there a comeback? Yeah. Because before I even get into it, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, yes, they do call out William and Jason Knopf. They do. I was unsure about how far they would go with naming names, but they do. When it comes to William, they make it very clear that he was involved. They do it in a very subtle, classy, graceful way. But they make it very clear that he was involved. Yes, Tiger Hub. Archie and Lily are gorgeous. All right. Sorry, I'm going to have to skip through all of your comments. Miranda on 5 months membership. Thank you so much, Miranda. And thank you, Church Nelly, for writing that. All right, let's just get Cynthia. It's what the Duchess of Sussex represented deep in my heart. That was bigger than her and her husband. There was too much symbolism at their wedding. Exactly. Not just at their wedding, but through almost everything that they do, right? Mackenzie, am I wrong for hoping that Beyonce texting Meghan generates Harry and Meghan some beehive protection? I think they already have some beehive protection. And yes, apparently Meghan texts Beyonce people. I repeat, sorry, Beyonce texts Meghan people. I repeat, Beyonce texts Meghan. Beyonce was on the 40 times 40 project and they met at the Lion King premiere. So, and it was also really funny to see how Harry responded to Beyonce texting Meghan. He was literally like, "Oh my god, Beyonce is texting you." Beyonce is that celebrity to all of the other celebrities. She really is. Not to us common folk. She's clearly very respected among her peers. Oh, highlight side, you're listening at work. No worries. All right, I think I got through most of your comments. So let's get through the commentary because I know you callers are waiting and you want to jump in. So I will get through my commentary. Right. So plenty of new pictures and footage. Archie in the bathtub. I'm a bit funny about baby in the bathtub pictures. I'm not a fan of them, if I'm honest. I'm just like, imagine when you get older and somebody sees you in the bathtub. Oh, give me a sec, everyone. There's some noise in my house. One sec. All right, sorry about that. Right, so you see Archie in the bathtub. Archie helping Lily blow out her first birthday candle at the party at Frogmore when they came for the jubbly. Archie as a newborn. Also, Archie being held by his nanny when he was a young baby. And it's interesting that they didn't go for the typical Nolan nanny. Is it Nolan or Norlan nanny? So those are some of the most highly trained, most expensive nannies in the world. And they are typically where the royal family goes to get nannies for their kids. But they went for a Zimbabwean nanny. And there she is holding Archie in a mudcloth. I believe there's different names for that in different parts of the African continent. In Zambia, we call it a chitenge. And that's how my mum carried me and all of us. That's probably how I'll carry my children as well. It's, I see these parents with all these very expensive, 300-pound baby, carriers. I mean, for goodness sake, just put the baby in the cloth. But it was adorable. And seeing this picture, it just like reminded me of how my aunties were. And for Archie to have that love and protection in a way that perhaps no matter how highly trained your very Norland nanny perhaps would not be able to provide. They don't train you to provide that type of love. That type of love can't be trained into you. It's something that just comes from the heart. And she really did across as a wonderfully humble woman who helped take care of Archie and Harry and Meghan. We also saw, here's some other pictures. Harry and Meghan at the wedding, they cut the cake with a knife. And Meghan at her baby shower, that's Amal Clooney to her right and Serena to her left. And it looks like they were doing some flower arranging class. There's another picture of Meghan at the baby shower. Maybe it didn't load it. One sec. Did it not? I think it. Hang on a sec. Do you know what's happened? It hasn't loaded all of my slides. So let me just. What's happened there? All right, folks, just give me one sec because some of my slides haven't uploaded for some strange reason. Oh, sorry, I just realised that my mic was still muted there. So yes, this is Meghan at the baby shower. You can see her in a beautiful polka dot dress, laughing, smiling, got towers of cookies and cakes. And one of the things that they address in the documentary is that the press made such a big deal out of a baby shower that was completely paid for by Meghan and her friends. It was not taxpayer funded. And Meghan actually makes a point of saying is that they were attacking a group of independent women with their own money, not British taxpayers' money, who held a baby shower for their friends. And they turned it into a circus and something to attack her with. But what was also lovely to see is that Meghan clearly had so much love and joy on that day. And then you had that one, unfortunately, British woman who stood outside of the hotel and shouted, "Charlotte," some crazed woman who stood there, went all the way there. I mean, was she in New York? Was she a British woman in New York? Did she fly over to New York just to stand outside of a hotel for hours until she saw Meghan to shout Charlotte and Duchess? Disgraceful. Anyway, let me get through my notes. So it was Harry that chose the song that Meghan walked down the aisle to, and what a beautiful song it was. And Charles helped them choose an orchestra. It was actually Meghan that asked Charles to walk her down the aisle because of everything that was going on with her father. So it was Meghan that asked Charles. And there was one of Meghan's friends who was sitting with Oprah, and she said, so no, it was a he. He said, there was so much symbolism in the wedding, and the symbolism of what it all meant. And it's true that from the choir that was chosen, the reverend that was chosen, but that symbolism, I think, in the eyes of some was seen as dangerous. Because it was truly a royal wedding that you'd never seen, and perhaps if a person of colour had not married into a royal family, you would have never seen. And also, colour aside, if we're talking about royal weddings that we've never seen, two people that genuinely loved each other. A man who I believe is genuinely going to keep his wedding vows. What else? Okay, Grenfell. They talked about Grenfell, and they also had some of the women who took part in putting together the Hub Kitchen speak also. It was heartbreaking to hear that, the victims, many of them people of color, all of working class people, regardless of color, were not given, I think, good enough resources to deal with the aftermath of Grenfell, shuttled off to hotels, having to eat takeaways. And you had one of the women who thought, well, let me start a kitchen, and Meghan straight away got involved. And what did the British media do? What did Camilla Tominey do? Sorry, I don't have the screenshot of it, but they did show it in the documentary. She wrote an article linking the victims of Grenfell, who were doing a good for their community, to terrorism. That's what Camilla Tominey decided to do at the time. Camilla Tominey who's friends with Andrew and has a picture of herself with Andrew laughing gleefully on her website. That was one of the most emotional moments for me watching, because it was one of those moments that really showed, yes, there was something horrible that happened to Harry and Meghan, but beyond that, there are so many social issues that surround what happened to Harry and Meghan that make this whole situation so much more bigger than just this couple. And one of the things that was pointed out was that Grenfell is in the borough of Kensington, in one of the poorer areas of Kensington, but Kensington is simultaneously one of the richest. just in London, but in the country. So you had this complete disaster when poor working class people were literally burned alive and running for their lives from a burning building. And yet there's so much wealth. And they were not given the help that they needed. And you had this member of the royal family that just said, you know what? Let me just do one simple thing. Give these people a place to find community and food. It doesn't take millions sometimes. And it didn't take millions to just give those people something, a level of hope. And the British media tried to destroy it. I actually don't think that they went as hard as they could have in that part. I would have actually liked them to show Camilla Tominey's face next to that headline. What else? So Harry also talks about the way in which the royals see themselves in relation to press coverage, and this whole idea that if you are on the front cover, then that automatically means, or they see it, that it means that, you know, your charities are going to get the most donations, you're the most popular, the most this, the most that. That's how they see it. But when in actual fact, the real praise is how much you can connect with the people. And that's what the other royals don't seem to understand. And you saw there was one part where the family had gone out to, I think it was was it the variety show? Something, I think it was a Royal Albert Hall. But the next morning, it was Meghan who was on the cover, because obviously it's Meghan that sells the most. And Meghan and Harry seeing Meghan on the cover, it was one of those, oh my God, moments. The fact that they actually were worried when they saw Meghan on the cover, because they knew instantly, oh, we've taken attention away from the others, and the others are going to be upset about it. But it's the editors that choose. And what do they choose on? Who's the most popular? Or who gets the most attention, rather. So I think it just exposes the fact this family cares so much about popularity that they're willing to throw other members of the family under the bus. Because if you are not the heir or the spare, your job is basically, sorry, if your job is not the current monarch or the heir, your job is to be a supporting character. You are not allowed to overshadow the others. But that's just such a whack way of working, because we've seen how they've completely fumbled the bag. They wanted to treat Meghan like a supporting character while she became the star. And instead of seeing how they could work with her to make sure that everybody got some of that shine, they decided to try and destroy her. Harry also said that when Meghan was struggling, he regrets going into royal Harry mode and not going into husband mode and not being the supporting person that he could have been at the time. Harry also talks about people need to understand that being racist isn't just about using the N-word. It can be subtleties. It can be calling someone straight out of Compton when they've never lived in Compton and just immediately trying to link them to gun violence, to gang activity, to drugs. You don't actually have to say the N-word. There are other ways of insulting someone or insinuating something. And Meghan, being a woman of color and being half black, their immediate go-to was the gangster royal. Disgusting. Sorry, I'm trying to get through my notes. Oh, what was also interesting is that at numerous parts in the documentary, they use the Diana interview clips. They use several clips from the Diana interview. And we know that they have tried numerous times to diminish Diana's words in that interview. And they have even succeeded in making sure that it's not aired again in the UK. But Netflix said, not on my watch, and they used several clips, actually. Several clips. And the clips were kind of intercepted in between points that Harry and Meghan were making about the tabloid press. Oh yes, Kensington Palace. So after Harry and Meghan got married, they were put in a cottage at Kensington Palace. And this right here, what you're looking at, is the house. So can you see Harry is tilting his head over? That is because the ceiling is low. And can you see how Meghan's head is literally touching the top of the door? Because the ceilings in this cottage were low. Look at the lack of lighting, the lack of windows. It might as well just be a doghouse. I mean, my former family home was bigger than that. That is wild to me. Meghan's former house was bigger and more luxurious than the cottage that they were put in on Kensington Palace grounds. Look at Meghan's house. Girlfriend had a whole shoe closet. So Meghan basically downgraded while being a royal. She had luxurious furnishings, beautiful white palettes, and a whole shoe closet, a house in Canada that she paid for with her own money, and marries into the royal family. They put her in a cottage where she can barely stand. Her head is touching the top of the door. Like, your house and my house is better than this. Like, what is this? The level of shade and pettiness from this family, unreal. This was one of the parts that shocked me the most. Just wow. They literally put them in the doghouse. Oi. Right. And some lighter things that came out of this. Tyler Perry is Lily's godfather. They showed their life inside of Tyler Perry's house. And we knew that the paparazzi stalking, once they found out where they were, was bad. But in the documentary, we got to see how bad it was. Tyler Perry had to put up extra fences, plant trees, put CCTV all over the hill areas around his house. That's how bad it got. There were helicopters sometimes hovering over 24/7, to the point where other residents in the area said that despite the fact that they'd lived in LA for such a long time, they had never had it that bad. And LA is paparazzi central. Tyler Perry also said that he really respected Harry and Meghan's decision. We learnt that he originally sent Meghan a letter just before the wedding. They didn't speak for some time, and then Meghan then made the call. And Tyler said that he didn't really know a lot about the royals, other than, what Diana had been through. And I think for a lot of people, especially for a lot of Americans, it's really the story of Diana. No, the internal workings, even the British people, for goodness sake, a lot of them don't know what goes on with this family. So given what he knew about what Diana went through and what Meghan was saying on the phone, he just said, I have to help. So he sent his jet, he sent security, and he let them move into his home. And there was a really funny part. Apparently, he had a stripper pole and some tiger print. Was it tiger print or leopard print? decor in the house when they got there. Miss Perry. But yeah, when all was said and done and they were peaceful, the couple then asked Perry to be Lilibet's godfather. And Perry's response was, I got off the phone, took it all in, then I called them back and I go, hold on a second. Does this mean we got to go over there and do all of that in church with them? Because I don't want to do all of that. That's what Tyler said. I don't want to do all of that. And can you blame? Would you want to do all of that? Mm-hmm. Right. And then okay, so Harry and Meghan and their place within the institution and the initial talks about them having half in, half out. So it was originally suggested by the couple actually that they would move either to New Zealand, South Africa, or potentially Canada. These were 3 places that the couple put forward as suggestions. This was all rejected by the institution. And, Meghan said, well, if we're away, we can continue to work on behalf of the Queen and the Commonwealth. You all can get all the attention. You all can get all the front covers you want. We'll just mind our business. And they said no to that. And it was very clear that they wanted to be more independent. And when that did become clear, I think the institution just lost it. Going as far as leaking their location when they moved to Canada. Now, I think that the institution leaked the location and pulled security, thinking that they would go running back. Here's the thing that the royal institution needs to understand, and that I think it doesn't. If there's anybody in that rusty ass palace that's listening to my voice, a lot of people are very suspicious about the circumstances surrounding Diana's passing. And even if you don't believe some of the conspiracies regarding Diana's passing, a lot of people are just suspicious of the royal family and the power structure that they are. And we've seen how they treat people in the family who go against the grain. So they may have thought that, okay, we're going to pull Harry and Meghan's security and they may come running back. But to people who are suspicious of this institution, it didn't just look petty. It looked like they were hoping that something would happen to this couple. Now, I'm not saying that that's how it is, because I don't know that to be the truth. But that is how it looked like to a lot of people. Because how can you allow a senior member of the royal family, one of the most visible figures in British life, a prince who's the heir to the British monarchy, who served on the front line of Afghanistan twice and was in the armed forces for 10 years, how can you allow him and his family to not have security? Unless you want something to happen to them. So unless somebody from the palace puts out a statement and says, oh no, we were just trying to scare them, we didn't really pull security, there was security hiding in the bushes all the time, well then I have to assume that you wanted something to happen to this couple. I'm sorry. Right, there was that. Also, during the Sarandon summit, where they tried to negotiate some terms for Harry and Meghan, Harry, remember, attended that summit himself, just himself. William was apparently screaming. Oh, sorry. William was incandescent with rage. Charles was screaming things that weren't true. And the Queen was apparently just taking it all in. So that was the famous Sarrington Summit. Now, there was also the matter of a joint statement. What we thought at the time was a joint statement. I didn't believe that it was a joint statement. But so this was a joint statement that came out on the 13th, 1st, 2020. A joint statement from the spokespeople of the Prince William and Prince Harry. Despite clear denials, a false story ran in the UK newspaper today, speculating about the relationship between the Duke of Sussex and the Duke of Cambridge. For brothers who care so deeply about the issues surrounding mental health, the use of inflammatory language in this way is offensive and potentially harmful. So that statement was not from Harry and William. It was just from William. And Harry's name got put to it and he didn't sign that statement. And Harry in the documentary says, I couldn't believe it. No one had asked me permission to put my name to a statement like that. Meghan just burst into floods of tears because within 4 hours, they were happy to lie to protect my brother. And yet they were never willing to tell the truth to protect us. And that's where that quote in the trailer comes in. And this is the context in which that line was said. And they also name, well, pretty much out William as the one who was involved in Daily Fail being given leaked information from Jason Knopf. And there's a scene where you see Meghan, Harry, and Mandana, and they're basically saying, well, you know, why do they keep saying, but basically, why do they keep referring to Jason Knopf as Prince William and Harry's communication secretary? When it is clearly Prince William, or Jason Knopf, who is working for Prince William, and Prince William is the one who's given the go-ahead for this information to be leaked in the middle of a court case. And you see Meghan, she's literally just in the kitchen like, I just can't. I mean, it's your brother, Harry. I'm not going to say anything about your brother. Y'all, Meghan is a patient woman. Because if it's me, honey, I'm cutting my brother out. I'm cussing him out. So, in a very classy still way, they make it clear that it's William. A lot of the briefing and leaking is from William. And the royal rodent rats themselves. Hang on a sec. I think my internet's being funny. Folks, can you still hear me? Okay, I think it's okay now. The royal rodent rats themselves admitted this. That's Dickie Arbiter and some other commentators, and I'm not going to play the video. I've uploaded the video separately as a short. Give you the videos so you can hear what they say. So listen to this.
Opinion, do you think that Kate and William had approved his decision to do this? I would put my...
Sorry, I'm going to restart that. One sec.
Do you, in your opinion, do you think that Kate and William had approved his decision to do this? I would put my money on it. You would?
The process would have been, as we know, is that the Mail on Sunday had the ruling against them in February, and they were then appealing it. So it was lawyers from the Mail on Sunday who would have approached Jason Knopf, knowing that these emails and messages existed. That would have been the point. Unless, I mean, the most likely outcome is that Jason obviously would have then gone to William and Kate and clearly he has cooperated. He would not have cooperated with those lawyers without their definite knowledge.
There you go. And that's Dickie Arbiter, Queen's former Secretary of Communications, Victoria I Lost Arbiter's father, also the person that said that Meghan would just be a fling, saying that he would put his money on the fact that it was William who allowed Knopf to put those private messages to the Daily Mail. Now, in response to all of this, Mr. Knopf has submitted a this was a response from Jason Knopf and his people. In response to allegations that Mr. Knopf submitted a voluntary witness statement in connection with the Daily Mail's litigation with the consent of Prince William's office, a representative for Mr. Knopf sent the following statement. These claims are entirely false. Mr. Knopf was asked to provide evidence by both the Duchess of Sussex and Associated Newspapers. He was advised by counsel that evidence in his possession could be relevant, and he then provided this directly to the court, stating staying neutral in the process. That is nonsense. And he provided those documents when the Mail was appealing. So Meghan had won. The Daily Mail appealed, and then Knopf tried to help them win the case. Anyway, Meghan's attorneys responded pretty snappily, and they said, the Duchess of Sussex attorneys responded with the following statement. The legal team for Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, disputes this claim. Mr. Knopf was not asked to provide a witness statement by the Duchess or her team. Nor do her attorneys believe Mr. Knopf remained neutral by submitting a witness statement relied on by Associated Newspapers whilst working for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. So there you have it. It's going to be interesting to see how William in particular responds to all of this. Does he respond or does he not respond? Because this really paints him in a bad light. And you know something? Kate benefited greatly from the way in which Meghan was maligned, the way in which the two women were pitted against each other, the angry black woman going after innocent Catherine. And yet, Kate is really spared in this whole thing, I have to say. She's really been spared. Meghan is a better woman than me. But if William is the bully that he is being exposed to be, maybe Meghan just feels sorry for her. She's just like, you know what? It's like being a dead horse. You're already dead inside. You already have to show up day in and day out with that grin across your face, knowing deep down that you are utterly miserable in a miserable marriage with an incandescent king, future king, who allegedly runs through the rose bushes. So let me not beat this dead horse anymore. So I hope that one day Catherine finds some humility and thanks Meghan. Because as and when these two finally do get a divorce, I think that by sparing Kate and not going too much into her, what part she may have played in all of this, it's actually William that's going to get, I think, the majority of the beating from the press as and when these two divorce. Because people will say, well, he betrayed his brother and his sister-in-law, so who's the real villain in this marriage then? Because it's William that's really being exposed as a bully here. And I don't think we've heard the last of the saga with Jason Knopf. Right, I'm just going to finish off my final notes and then I will let anybody who wants to speak up on stage. Thank you so much for being so patient. I just wanted to make sure that I got through everything. And then, have I got through... Oh yes, William texts Harry right after the Oprah interview. We didn't see what was in the text, but Harry held his phone up to Meghan and said, I've got a text from William. Serena Williams also made a very poignant statement. She said that friends can be family and that Harry and Meghan are creating a family with their friends. Archwell also had a holiday party, and it was amazing to see. First, do actually have a huge team already. Archwell has a massive team, and it's a very diverse team full of lots of different faces, a lot of women on the team, a lot of diversity on the team. And they had a holiday party. It looked like it was at the Sussex's home. So they have one of the big things that I took away from this is that all of the madness that's been going on here on this island, the way in which the press have been so preoccupied and have tried to drag the tabloid reading British public to be preoccupied in the drama is pathetic. Because over in Montecito, we've been building a business, we've been investing in other businesses, we've been building platforms, we've been recording a podcast, we've been making TV shows. We've been living our best lives. We've been rekindling with our family members. Ashleen, who was Samantha Markle's daughter, Meghan's niece, we saw in the first half of the documentary series, she was cut out because of the palace. They told her, oh, you can't come because of Samantha Markle. Well, Meghan and Ashleen have now rekindled their relationship. Ashleen comes over to the house quite frequently. You see her in videos cooking with Archie. She's really an aunt to those children. So that's one relationship that they were not able to completely break. Harry did say that unfortunately he did lose some friends, but you know what? I think he kept his real ones. You see just how close him and Eugenie are. Eugenie, it seems, has been a real one. And I'd say probably one of the biggest revelations, other than William's shady dealings, or at least a revelation for people who haven't been following the story as closely as the Sussex Squad has. But this one was, I think, news for all of us. They offered to relinquish their titles. They offered to relinquish their titles, folks. And they put it in writing. One more time. They offered to relinquish those stupid titles. But all of this time, what have we been hearing in the press? Take away their titles. Harry and Meghan should lose their title. You know, I remember the first time that I ever suggested that Harry and Meghan should give up their titles, and squaddies got mad at me. And I was simply saying it because I felt they didn't need them. What did they need them for? Those titles don't mean anything to anyone other than the royalists in the UK. Meghan are now stars in their own right, and they were always going to be. So yeah, take the titles. Take them. Because Harry and Meghan, we're going to give them up anyway. Now, what's not explained is why the institution decided to let Harry and Meghan keep the titles. And could it be that they were concocting this plan where they would let them keep the titles, but then through Parliament, through the law, through this smear campaign, they would have the titles stripped from the couple to publicly humiliate them? I think that's what the end goal was. So that was one of the most interesting things that came out of this. Right, I have only other thing I have to say is Rebecca English, my dear. Rebecca English, you now join the cohort of other royal rodents who have done so much damage. Lie after lie. There was this famous story about Meghan's hand-stitched beaded design made by her favorite Aussie designers, Ralph and Russo. she wore a plain dress by Stella McCartney. Oh, and here's all the other lies from Rebecca English, just a handful. More lies from Rebecca English. Hashtag Rebecca English as a liar has been trending, but she is just one of a whole cohort of liars in the Royal Rodent Rota. But I mentioned Rebecca specifically because the day before yesterday, this was what was on the front cover of the Daily Fail. Oh, it's not showing. What's going on? There you go. Meghan's Netflix nonsense. That was Rebecca English. When it's her, look at all those titles that I just showed you, who's been doing nothing but writing nonsense for the last 5 years. And if you listen to the podcast the other day, I also played a snippet of Rebecca English bragging about her lunch with Jason Knopf. And Meghan says in the documentary, they are making a fortune off of us. And they are. They're making a fortune off of them and of hate. Because it's the hate that sells the most. But the biggest takeaway from this whole thing, before I stop talking and let you talk, is that love wins. Love won. We grow up reading those fairy tales. Prince saves the princess. Well, this time, it was the feminist that saved the prince, and then they both saved each other. Love won. I'm going to stop talking and let you all talk if you want to come up. And thank you all so much. There's so much more I could say, to be honest. I think I'm only just scratching the surface, but I know you all are gonna watch it and form your own opinions, as you should. But overall, I did like it, and I thought the documentary filmmakers did a great job and filled in some of the blanks where perhaps the Oprah interview didn't. Mina Ruth, my dear, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Fantastic. Go right ahead.
Okay. I actually was up till like I want to say from 2 to maybe 4, almost gone on 5, watching the documentary. I only watched part 4 and part 5. I haven't watched the last part yet, so
Okay.
for the most part, it's pretty good. I'm glad that they were able to speak their truth, and I'm so glad that Harry put out that it was William who did some of the stuff. I think Charles is partially to blame as well. I wouldn't show that old greaser any grace, but that's just me.
Mhm.
I'm happy that they got their happy ending. I really am, because they deserve it.
Mm.
So that's basically really all I wanted to say. Sorry if I sound a little drowsy. I've been
No,
laying in
it's
bed.
fine. Oh yeah, honey, after this, I'm taking a nap. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of the doc. Sorry if I've given you too many spoilers.
Oh no, that's okay. That was bound to happen anyway, so it's fine. I'm just gonna watch the last part of it, and then I'll probably rewatch it whenever I get a chance. So it's fine. Oh, one more thing too.
Hmm.
Karma is coming their way, 100%. You can't tell
Hmm.
me any different. And when that whole establishment falls, I'll be sitting in my popcorn saying, "Yep, told you so." That's really all I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Mina. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Mary, you there, Mary?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mary. How are you?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say I enjoyed it thoroughly, and
Hmm.
that I, while I was watching it, I was thinking about the case against Meghan by her disgusting half sister at this point. Yeah, that shall not be named. Um, and I was like, it's her 3 children that would be her downfall because one completely hates her. Then I don't know about the boy, but the other girl is the is it Ashley or
Ashleen.
what is
Yes, Ashleen,
yeah.
the one that's friend of Meghan.
Yes. Likes Meghan, so is and her other daughter actually what is that? Says about the same thing to support Ashley. I'm I'm just gonna call her Ashley, Ashleen, and I'm like, oh, Samantha wouldn't win the case. I'm like, that is because it's like she changes her mouth and it's anytime she's called and even her father, her so-called father. So
yeah, and you can't defend yourself if all you've ever done is lie, right? All right. Well, I'm so have you watched all the way to the end, Mary?
Yeah.
All right. All right.
I was quite happy that she got in touch with Ashlyn and salvaged that relationship, and I was quite I didn't shed any tears, but I was quite sad about her mother.
Yes.
Meghan's mother, not
just
her mother.
struggling with it all and seeing her daughter in that state. It must have been very difficult as a mum.
Yeah. And what Meghan said about the security people showing her and about the 5th page that there was a threat about her life.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I've actually seen that on YouTube as well.
Yes. So what Mary is referring to, everyone, I didn't even mention this in my analysis because there's just so much to analyze. Meghan saw a threat in a safety manual that basically it was I wish Meghan Markle would die or something along those lines, and maybe I should be the one to kill her. And Meghan got very teary-eyed and emotional, and as one can understand, paranoid, because you do then think, what, am I safe? Are the security doors tight? Are security doing their job, pacing up and down hallways? Are my babies okay? They have absolutely created an environment where somebody could have done something to Meghan. And actually, I think this is one of the places where I have to say the documentary filmmakers failed. There are people that are in jail, one of whom called a Nazi sympathizer who called Harry a race traitor. And I'm just a little bit disappointed at the filmmakers that they didn't hone in a little bit more on that there are actually people in jail who threatened to physically harm this couple. Sorry, Mary, you can go
on. So then the other bit was the whole fact that Tyler Perry still that friend and stuff like that, and the tabloids will always say that they have no famous friends and they're not invited to parties and stuff like that. I'm like, that's all a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie. You could see from a lot of the footage that they clearly have a huge circle of very influential and mostly very supportive friends.
And that People magazine article as well, that it was not Megan that
That asked her friends to do it. Her friends just decided to do it.
yeah, and it was her friend that called the People magazine People.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Mary, for your input. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Thank you. All right, Mercedes. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you fine, hon.
I spoke a few days ago on Barron's channel, and at the time, we all speculate on what we thought would come out in this second part of the docuseries. However, I really was not expecting it to be so emotional. And to see and I say that because, and I lived in England for 10 years and I worked for the RSPCA. And working in office environment was the worst racial political experience of my life.
In a charity.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
While working at a charity.
Yes. Now the street inspectors who go out and check on the animals were wonderful. But inside that office, it got so bad. And I was born in the South in America, Greenville, Mississippi. Mississippi is the most racist southern state in this country of the US. And I grew up and I've seen the KKK. I've encountered a lot of racism, but the difference between the racism in America and in England is in America, you know who they are. They're bold, they're upfront, they don't hide it. There they are. There's no pretense, you see. Whereas my experience in England, and I should not have gone there with the idea that this country was beyond that, was past it. I learned the hard way that it was not. In fact, the racism in England is so insidious that I level it on another aspect of demonic and wicked, because it's sneaky like a snake. And it's so hard to prove it there because they are cunning in how they make you feel like a piece of crap. They tore me down so bad that after 5 years at RSPCA, I had to come out of there. And I was in such bad depression. I was so emotionally wrecked by the things that I literally was held back from attacking a fellow worker and my supervisor at RSPCA in the office. It was the worst experience of my life, and it opened my eyes in a way to do with racism that I never ever thought that there was this level. Because in the United States, you know what areas not to go into, you know on your world where to stay and where not to go. Whereas there it's different. It's so very mixed in England, you don't expect to encounter it. And it blew me away. What also blew me away was the different West Indians or Jamaicans that were there, who were so accustomed to it that they did not react to anything. As they kept their head down, they did what they had to do, and they did not rock the boat. I found that shocking. I'm like, are you kidding me? But no one said a thing. Black America is a little bit different. And when you go into an area that's dominantly white in America and you see a Black person, you look at each other, you acknowledge each other, and you may have never saw that person before, but you come together and you go, it's like it's a weird type of bonding that takes place. That doesn't happen in England. Like Megan, I'm not as fair-skinned as she is, but I'm a light-skinned Black woman.
Sorry, can I just ask you, Mercedes,
Sure.
where in England were you working? Were you working in London or outside of London?
No, I wasn't in London. I was in Rotherham and Sheffield area.
Right.
And so in that area, working in Sheffield, matter of fact, RSPCA, the call center, I'm trying to remember, was in, oh my gosh. Oh, you got to forgive me because I wasn't expecting to go there, but
No worries.
the difference in the racism is stunning to someone who's not accustomed to that type of racism. Whereas the West Indians or the Jamaicans there are used to it. They've learned to accept it, keep their head down, work hard, and move on. And coming from America, that's not what you do. You call it out. And I learned the hard way that calling it out makes them turn on you like a pack of dogs. They called me a racist and all of these things, where at the time, to their surprise, I was married to a white English man who was furious and who warned me that this would happen. And I didn't. I was like, I'm good, because I'm like Megan. I've got all types of friends here in America: Black, white, Spanish, Native American. So I'm thinking, no, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'm the type of person I can get along in any type of atmosphere. So I'm no longer living there. I'm back in the United States. I end up getting a divorce. I'm not going to get into that because that's not what this is about. But being back in America and now seeing what Meghan Markle had gone through, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, 100%, that she was telling the truth about her experience. She was telling the truth about her depression, about her feelings of suicide. I knew 100%. And let me tell you, seeing part 2 and her saying, this is not a game. This is not about selling newspapers. You are making people want to kill me. I sobbed my eyes out for her. Even before that, the tears were rolling, because people think money. You got money, you got prestigious living. Look at you. You got no worries. It's psychological. All the money in the world will not buy mental health, security, and peace if you are being victimized and targeted.
Exactly. And what does it say that she was in the institution that has all of that money and privileges, and she still was not protected?
Exactly. She was in a gilded golden cage, but as they walked by, they jabbed at her with sharp mental, psychological torture. So yeah, she was in a castle, but she was being poked and prodded and picked apart and dared to say something, you can't do this, you can't do that. She might as well been in a prison. And the last thing I'm going to say is, I do not believe that Kate is happy. I do not believe. Now, I could be wrong. She could, but no, I believe that her culture, her surroundings, her environment has made her accept her lot in order to maintain this for other people, maybe in her family, whatever the case may be. But no woman wants to be with a man like William, who treats you, and I bet you he treats her insignificantly behind closed doors. I believe he throws tantrums. I believe that he shouts and stomps because he's been groomed and conditioned that his poop don't stink. You are the highest person here, and everybody must bow down and kiss your end. And I'm sure that Kate is tired of kissing his end. And at some point, I hope she wakes up and grabs her children, especially Charlotte, before it's too late. And I am so happy that they put out this documentary. Yeah, they're going to get picked apart, but I hope that Meghan can find healing and peace, that she's had her say. Harry has had his say. It's out there. And like your previous caller, I do believe that the monarchy is about to crumble. It's even biblical, because they're supposed to represent the Church of England. They're supposed to represent a station before God, so they say. Now, we all know that's baloney, right? We know it's not so. They're the biggest hypocrites on the planet. But you cannot use God and the church as a front when you're doing these kind of things. And that's why it's going to crumble. And Meghan Markle and Harry are just a small element in that peg, or in or a peg, yeah, that has been snatched out, that's going to cause that foundation to fall to pieces. And I just hope the Commonwealth and all those who see this turned immediately. Then what are they going to do? I'd like to see them survive as Harry and Meghan. And let's be honest, Harry found an out because he got an industrious woman who had already established herself. And so that was the reason he had an escape. So as far as I'm concerned, Harry said it. She rescued him, and Tyler Perry rescued them both. Amen for that. That's all I got to say.
Thank you so much, Mercedes, for sharing that. I am so sorry that you went through all of that, but I can hear that you've come out of it a very strong person. I appreciate
Oh
your
my
time.
gosh. I have grown from it, and I had to go through some mental healing. I had to get therapy. I've gone through a lot to recover from it. And I've told people who said, "Oh, you went to England? You lived there for oh, how cool. What was it like?" And I said, "Well, it's a wonderful place to visit, but I would not advise you to live there. It's not any advice I would give you." And they said, "Oh, why?" Because of my healing, I won't go into it. I just said, just trust me on that. Visit. And I'm an author. I write about a lot of stuff. And I said I would write about my experience in RSPCA, but because I don't want to undo my healing, I've decided not to. But in any case, you know what? Everyone that is in that position that the royal house or the monarchy is in, and in a position of power, they have an idea that no commoner, no small person will ever crumble what they've built. And they're so wrong. They're so wrong. And they're wrong because of who they're supposed to represent. And that's why they're going to crumble. And it's not going to take long either. But yeah, later on, when my head is straight, I'll be back there, because there were quote unquote commoners who would call and refer to me as our American in the meat markets, in the various vegetable. I love that part.
Yeah.
But the other part, oh my goodness. Yeah, the higher up it goes, the worse the racism gets, and the most insidious it gets. So I'm glad they're out of there. I'm glad I'm out of there. I have people there that I love, that I still communicate with. I will go back there one day, but I'm not in a hurry. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you as well, Ann. And I love your platform. I am going to start vlogging. I am going to join the Sussex Squad, but I just need time to collect my thoughts, because I'm trying to finish a book, ironically, that's dealing with the Irish slaves that people don't talk about. So yeah, so once I get that done and launch it, then I'm going to focus on
straight back here, and we'll definitely give you space to talk about that. Thank you so much, Mercedes.
And thank you. You do a fantastic job. Goodbye, everybody. That's it for me.
Bye. And just okay, two things about some of the things that Mercedes said about Kate and William and things going on in that institution. Well, you saw the way Louis treated his mom within the viewing eyes of the public and the cameras. If that's what's going on out in public, what's going on behind closed doors. And I'm sorry to anybody writing off that incident, what happened at the Jubilee with Louis putting his hand over his mother's mouth. twice making eye contact to shush her. I want to know what discipline looked at in your house, if you think that's acceptable or if you think it's normal for a boy child to do that to his mother. That is learnt behavior. There are definitely things going on in that household. And what's the other point that I was going to make off the back of what Mercedes said? Right, the racism in England. So I grew up in London. London is very diverse. And I agree with what Mercedes said in that a lot of the times you don't really notice it until you start going higher up. And for me, I have to say that I did have a very happy childhood, teenhood. I can't personally say that, not that aren't individuals who are rude, mean, racist, but I can't personally say that in through childhood to teenhood is something that affected me greatly until I got into the workplace. And that's where I think a lot of people find it starts, and the higher up you go. And I notice this a lot with older people around me who work in certain positions, talking about this also, just the feeling that they're not happy when you are in a decision making position. And because often it is so underhanded, it's difficult to tackle it. Right. Flame, I will let you go next.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and I love your avatar.
It fit what was going on, going through my mind and everything that's happening. The last lady was very powerful. I related to her. I don't know how old she is. I'm thinking that she may be younger than me, but I was thinking back to, we all have a point where we, like you were saying, your childhood was, you didn't really feel the crux of it until you get out into the world. My father raised me single. Was a long story, but anyway, he was an older gentleman, and he raised me. I was like 4 or 5 during the mid late '60s, and so I was thinking about it. Megan's Dr. Midori said she wished she had talked to Megan about racism, and I was thinking, well, yeah, my father, he talked to me about it. But then when I thought about it again, I remembered it's because I asked him questions. Because I think I was 6 or 7 when Martin Luther King was assassinated. And I said, well, why did they kill him? He wanted everybody together, even the white people. So he understood that I didn't understand racism because I didn't understand why he was killed. Because I kept saying, but he was a preacher. He was about love, and he died that horrible way. So then he had to explain it to me, which is what I forgot. I asked him questions. So I hope Dory doesn't feel that she was wrong in that. She may have felt that she was waiting for Megan to be ready. But what I was going to try to say was it's a stunning thing when you, at least for me, well, not stunning. I'll put it to you this way. I'm trying to, all these thoughts are flooding into my mind. Because, being a lot older, I have a lot more of those racial experiences. But I'll say when I was a teenager, what made it clear was I was talking over the phone to a librarian. I had to get some books for a particular class, and I wanted to be ready ahead of time. I wanted to get books on my own that gave me an introduction better to that class. And we talked over the phone, and we laughed and we joked, and she was very intelligent, and we related on a lot of different things. And when I got there to pick up the book, I asked her for the book, and she said, "I'm saving it for someone." And I said, "I know, aren't you Carla?" I think it was her name. And she said, "Yes, who are you?" And I said, "I talked to you on the phone about the book." And she stared at me for like 30 seconds. And she said, "It couldn't have been you I talked to about this book. I doubt that you would understand all the facets involved in this book." And she would not give it to me. She did not believe it was me. So that's when it became clear to me how they have a hate of a particular thing. not the person, not the color of a particular thing. And it doesn't matter that even 5 minutes ago they were talking about, you're like their sister, they could hang out with you. And then when they saw that you were black, all that just vanished. So that's when it became clear to me what it really was that my father was trying to explain to me about racism. So and the lady that was ahead, I can still hear her pain in her voice. I've always been a very empathetic person. I can tell you stuff that you probably say, oh, really? But anyway, so I can still hear the pain in her. So what I would like to say to her is perhaps writing the book would be cathartic. I know that she's writing a book now and it's on what she's writing. I'm probably part of her feelings can get dealt with in that, but it's not really all of what she's still feeling. And maybe writing a book would be cathartic for her. So I hope she gets to that because we have a lot of things in common. People tell me I should do that. You should use your pictures and you should, all this kind of stuff in my mind is not there yet. And also, I want to join the Sussex Squad as soon as I figure out how to do it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do
it.
it. I'm gonna just start putting videos out.
There's
I'm sorry, go ahead.
there's like 100 royal reporters, but nowhere near as many of us. So we need more of
Right.
us.
Right. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I'm gonna start making my little videos and putting them out there until I get the hang of it, I guess. But I admire you. I admire the OGs, Tina and Michelle, and I'm changing my view back and forth about Omid. I started off with the queer eye because, no pun intended, because of him being a royal rota. But as I've been looking at some of his columns and the thing in his ones in Yahoo, and the new book that he's got coming out, and the title is intriguing. Have you heard about the book he may put out?
Oh yeah, we talked about this yesterday. Endgame, literally called
Right.
Endgame.
Literally, yeah. So I'm like, I didn't buy Finding Freedom. I just, I couldn't get into him. I still wasn't quite sure where he was coming from, but it's interesting. I'll say some of the points he makes are interesting, and so I'm glad that you're there. And like I said, I Tina and Michelle is who made me aware of what was going on with Megan because I didn't believe it, and then when I started, and it's creeping into American media. I look at some of my shows like Morning Joe. I was so disappointed in the snide remarks and some of the actual talking points I could hear right from the palace about privacy and why are they doing this, and all this kind of stuff. And that was shocking me on Morning Joe. It did. And
Well,
then after, go ahead.
there was a squaddy that actually said, and I didn't even think about this, was the maybe reason some of the American media are doing that is because they want access to the coronation, which is just wild to me. Because to be honest, I think after Charles's coronation, that's going to be the last little party, the last little hurrah, and then after that, really and truly, nobody's really going to care about this institution. So you're throwing away the golden egg, which is Harry and Meghan, and throwing them under a bus for something that is going to be worth nothing after that coronation. It's barely even worth nothing now; it's crumbling.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say they're giving up that nobody cares about that coronation. Nobody cares about them. The more it comes out, the worse it is. And that poor lady, that poor lady that was a victim of racism by that aging creature that they claim have, that they fired. Sure, they have. Now that she had to stop her work helping people, helping victims of domestic violence because she has to hide because she's had so many threats against her,
Yeah.
Not, and that's shameful, and she was gracious as ever saying, yeah, we got to stop for a minute, and, because of but I appreciate all the support we've had from good people, but the crazy, she didn't say the crazy people, she said, we have to just stop, suspend for a minute until we get this under control. So she's got so many threats for simply stating her feelings of despair and disbelief in the way she was treated after being invited somewhere, the disrespect she was shown after being invited somewhere. I mean, they're attacking her from all corners, and what's sad to me is the black people. The black people are attacking her too. Now that stunned me that there would be as many of them, English black people attacking her and not being empathetic with her. That made me sad. So yes, so I'm going to try to join this squad and chip in and add my voice because I don't
Do
think
it.
they're going to stop until they actually do crumble. You know.
Yes. Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Flame.
Thank you. And I missed you. And Merry Christmas if I don't talk to you, and Happy New Year. There's so much
Oh,
going on, but I wanted to say that though, and keep up the good work.
thank you so much. Have a lovely day, hon.
You too. Bye bye.
Oh, Megan Love, you were going to be the last person I let speak, and I don't know if you've left or I accidentally kicked you out. If I accidentally kicked you out, I am so sorry. Please come back in because you are going to be the last person to speak. So I'm gonna go through the comments. Megan Love and Megan Love only, please. I'm not taking any more callers for now. I might do another evening show maybe where I take more callers. But if Megan Love wants to come back into the chat and talk, I will let you on. I don't know what happened just there. You just disappeared. I was about to put you on and then you just disappeared. But I'll give her a moment if she does want to come back in and I'll take your comments. But thank you so much, everyone, as always, for coming. Oh, thank you, Legs. Anyone remember when Boldy was irritated with Kate on an engagement right after the Queen's funeral? He was clearly incensed at her on camera. I don't know exactly which incident you are talking about, but I have seen a couple of incidences where they're both clearly very irritated at each other in public. And thank you so much for the super chat, Legs, as always. Very kind of you. Right, we'll get through your last comments and then we will wrap things up because I believe Petal's about to come on. I don't know what time. Does anyone know what time Baron is on? Has he scheduled yet? But I will definitely be over Baron's today. So things up so we can get going. And yeah, that's why I'm not watching American television anymore. Yeah, it seems like, you know, it wasn't too long ago that they were all very supportive, and then there has been a slight change of the winds recently, but I think it's going to backfire on them. It's really going to backfire on them. CNN has a good opening with Don Lemon. Okay. At least one person talking sense. Oh, and there was also another part. Oh gosh, I forgot to mention this because there's just so much you can pick apart. But they did talk about the Commonwealth nations leaving the Commonwealth and what role does the Commonwealth have now, especially after the way Meghan was treated. And they showed clips of the failed Caribbean tour of Kate Williams. They also showed a Jamaican man who was talking about reparations. So they did, in a subtle way, go there with this documentary. Oh, I am so tired. After this, I'm gonna go get some food and take a nap. Let's see any more of your comments. Yes, thank you so much, Sash. Remember to hit the like button. Yes, Orbus. You knew it was William who called Archie a tar baby after he said we are very much not a racist family, while standing next to a black woman with freshly done braids and an African print top who wasn't wearing a jacket when everybody else was on a chilly day. They made sure that that woman was standing right next to him. Not a coincidence at all, I'm sure. Oh, thank you so much, Tiger Hub. Thank you. Yeah, I don't because Petal and Baron is on. I don't think I'll do a second call-in podcast today. I'll just do call-ins as normal tomorrow. Oh, Anastasia, good morning from the Hamptons. Just getting up. All right, Tiger Hub, I'll give you the last word of the day. Fantastic podcast as always. Made even more fantastic by the amazing callers today. Thank you, everyone, and callers and squaddies. Indeed, thank you all. We made it. And I think ultimately this is going to just set the tone for the next part of Harry and Meghan's journey, which, as they said themselves, is just working on part of their lives. you know, and that is raising their family, developing Archer, or developing their projects. And it was just great to see that despite everything that the British media has thrown at them, they have just been getting on with it. And I think that's what they will continue to do. And we will continue to support them, as well as calling out the BS from the British tabloids. And with that, have a wonderful day, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Ciao.
Love's for beginners, ain't no winners. It slips through your fingers. I ain't telling no lies. So F all the drama, F the karma. Just do what you wanna. Promise you got time. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being almost mama, yeah, to yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Come get your future. Know you wanna, she'll never betray ya. She ain't telling no lies. So break the glass ceiling, find your meaning, make truth out of dreaming. Yeah. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being almost mama, yeah, to yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being almost mama, yeah, to yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life.
Question: did you get a chance to meet with the royal family? And if not, how was it like having them there in the building?
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph?
The Prince and Princess of Wales.
Oh, no, I did not. I'm only familiar with one royal family. I don't know too much about that one.